Welcome to the On Stage podcast, where we deep dive into the power of music and entertainment. Hello, everyone. Welcome to another podcast. Well, this is a very interesting guest, and I know all guests are interesting, but he's interesting because he was a neighbor of mine, 30 some odd, 40 years ago? I knew your
Yes,
father,
Chris,
your sister.
that's very true. You and I literally just grew up down the street from each other. We lived on the same street, trust God, in Lauren Park all those years ago.
That's right. That's right. And then you play cover songs, I believe.
Yeah,
Really appreciate this opportunity to finally kind of update ourselves and find out what you've been up to. And
yeah. Oh,
basically, Steve, you look the same. Just like, you just look the same. You haven't aged.
well, I have aged, Chris, because I used to have red hair and now I have gray hair, and
Yeah.
so that kind of happened. But it was kind of fun going gray because I had a period of about 4 years, I guess, where I was transitioning from red to gray. And everybody that met me for the first time thought I had blonde hair. And for some reason, I had more interest from women in those 4 years than you can take a stick at.
Well, this is
I know.
amazing. Yes, this is amazing. It's so good to see you again. Let me check my audio. Sorry, everyone. I mean, it's not live, so I could delete that. Okay. Yes, Steve Ray. And I'm so happy that your father is still around. Is 98, you said he was?
Yeah, he'll be turning 98 in August, if you can believe that. And he still lives in our neighborhood. He just moved from his condo. He just sold a condo, and he's living in a care home now. But 97 years old. He has dinner with 7 women every night. He goes indoor skydiving. He's basically totally independent. It's incredible.
Really? And his mind is
Yeah,
sharp and everything.
yeah. His mind is sharp and fully able-bodied, and I'm very grateful. I just knock on wood that he's still doing great and living such a robust life so late into so for so many years. It's just a miracle. So.
It's a miracle. Steve, I'm so happy for that.
Hmm.
And how about your sister Lynn? How's she doing?
My sister Lynn is doing fine. She's married to a very nice guy named Tom who had a software business for a lot of years and made a good chunk of money. So they live up in around near Collingwood, near the Blue Mountain Ski Resort. They've got a home up there, and so they're doing just fine. She's got a couple of kids. I've got a niece and a nephew, so they're doing great.
That's amazing. Yeah, I think you and I lost touch. I think when you first moved out of that house, I think that was what, in 19 something, 1990 or something
Yeah,
like
it would have been around 1984 in around there because
that. Yeah.
I went to graduate school at Waterloo, and then I came back, and then I got my first job working for Mitel up in Ottawa. So yeah, that's when I left, was about 85, and I've been living in Ottawa ever since, and I've kept up being a musician since, oh God, since 1975. I've been doing it, so it's almost 50 years now. So I've been playing a lot of shows and a lot of clubs and a lot of experiences up here in Ottawa. So maybe some of your viewers might be interested to know a little bit about what the music scene is like in Ottawa. We can certainly cover some of that, and I can tell you a few stories and stuff. So we can go that route if you'd like.
That would be awesome. Yes. So I actually work for the government. So I've been there for 22 years. Before then, I worked for Atomic Energy. So that was good. And yes, I can't believe. So everyone, Steve Ray, actually, and I, Steve Ray, we went to the same high school, Lauren Park Secondary, and I literally actually already interviewed 3 or 4 other alumni.
Yes, I saw a few of them, Jim Boynton and Mark Patton, and I know them well.
And Steve Maxworthy, I think you know him too, don't you?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I think I remember Steve.
And you're the fourth. So, Steve, I'd be more interested in wondering that how you So what inspired you to pursue a career in music, and when did that happen?
Well, I can't say I've done a full-time professional career in music. These days I have a software business, and that's my main sort of thing, but it's just been a lifelong passion for me. I'm very passionate about music, and I wanted to be part of it. So these days I've in Ottawa, I've played with many bands and many artists over the years, some fully professional, some semi-professional, but yeah, I've been doing that and having a lot of fun. And I wouldn't have traded it in for the world. It's been just a great experience. I've had a chance to meet so many people over the years, and so many of my closest friends are all music related. And so it's been just a great ride.
Who have you rubbed elbows with or collabed with?
Oh, quite a few folks. Let's see, what's these days I'm playing with in a band called Vibes, and I'm the lead singer in that band is a lady named Denise Marion, who's a professional. She's a professional vocal coach actually, and she got her music degree from McGill in Montreal, and she has a lot of students. And when she was at McGill, one of her course curriculums was singing performance. So she actually got to sing in Place des Arts in Montreal with the Montreal Symphony as part of her course curriculum back then. But she's a very gifted singer, and I'm quite blessed to be working with her and her partner Larry, who's a great guitar player who I've also known for years. He's the one that got me connected with Denise. I've known Larry for many years and played in many different bands with him. So that's what I'm doing these days, and we're busy, busy, busy. We've got bookings right through to end of December this year. We play 2, 3, maybe 4 times a month. So that's the main thing I'm doing right now. I also play with a gentleman named Dan Dunlop, who's a retired police detective
Mm.
here in Ottawa, and he's got all kinds of connections all through Ottawa City Hall and all the law firms and everything. So we get all kinds of corporate performances too. I've played all over the place with him. We played at the Chateau Laurier a few times. We do all kinds of corporate events and political fundraisers, all that sort of stuff. So those are the two things I'm doing right now.
And
But
how
yeah,
does
there's been lots over the years.
so how does your current career right now, how does that work for playing music? Do you get a chance to incorporate that knowledge into your guitar playing?
Not so much the software stuff. No, I don't really get into sequences or sequencers or sampling or that sort of thing. I mean, I'm primarily a bass player, so that's what I contribute to the Ottawa music scene. I just bring my skills there and on that mostly.
Yeah, you were mentioning to me that you had association with Foreigner. I'd be interested in learning that little story there.
Yeah, another band that I played with was a band called Alex Rider, and we played a lot of the clubs around town, and we also had some connections with all the people that do all the summer festivals and fairs and stuff like that. So as part of that, we've opened for all kinds of people over the years. Um, some of that, let me just, I think I got trying to remember everything that I've done with her. Yeah, we opened for first off, we opened for April Wine a couple of times. Actually, we opened for the in a fair in Spencerville, which is just south of Ottawa. But the big one we played was the Shawville Fair, which is over
Oh,
in Shawville, Quebec.
mm.
And that was just a fabulous day. We got onto the main stage and did our opening set in front of the big crowd, and then April Wine came in and did their things. They're a very private bunch. Their road crew does all the sound checking for them. They
Mm.
literally don't show up to the gig until like 15 minutes before they go on. The van pulls up and they go into their trailer, and then they come out and do their thing, and then afterwards they go back into the trailer and they're gone. They're,
Wow, really?
but just had a chance to say hi to them and shake hands. They seem like really really nice guys. And the most fun from that gig was afterwards. There's a big beer tent that's associated with. So we'd play the opening set, and then while they were playing, we'd take all our gear over and set up in this beer tent. and it's like 2,000 people inside this covered tent. So we'd play there for another couple of hours after the show, and that was just wild. There'd be people climbing the posts, and you'd have all these people in front, and it was just a lot of fun. So I remember that one. And who else? We've opened for Honeymoon Suite a couple of times
Oh,
too.
wow.
We opened for them at the Navan Fair. Navan is a town that's just a little bit southeast of Ottawa. So we opened for them, and we opened for them again at the Richmond Fair a couple of years later, which is another little town that's about southwest of Ottawa. And they are, every single guy in that band is fantastic. They're so friendly, so down to earth. It was just a pleasure to meet them. So we've done that. We've opened for Kim Mitchell as well. Also, that's Richmond Fair. We opened for him, and he's a very quiet guy. Again, all his sound checks are all done by his road crew, and he was working as a DJ for Q107 in Toronto at the time.
Yeah.
And so he would literally just finish his show at 6 o'clock and then hop on the plane and fly up to Ottawa. And then he just came in. And again, same thing, very private. He just wants to go to his dressing room, do the show, and then leave. But all the guys in his band were quite friendly too. I remember when we finished that show, I was packing up all my gear, and I had a tap on the shoulder, and it was Peter Fredette, who plays bass for Kim Mitchell. And if you know Kim Mitchell's music, there was a song called "All We Are" or something like that, where Peter Fredette does the accompanying vocal with him. He has a very, very high voice, but he was so nice. He tapped me in the shoulder, shook my hand, and said, "Hey man, nice playing," and stuff like that. So had a chance to chat with him for a few minutes. Very, very nice guy. And we've opened for Glass Tiger and David Wilcox. We've opened for David Wilcox one time.
Wow.
Yeah. I didn't get a chance to meet him or anybody in his band. I had to go and play another show directly after we finished opening for him, but I did manage to catch his sound check. And I was familiar with the radio hits he's had over the years and stuff like that, but I wasn't prepared for what a fantastic guitar player he is. I had no idea that he had the chops and just the variety of playing styles that he had. They did 3 or 4 songs for a sound check, and all kinds of different styles. He did some jazzy stuff, he did some bluesy stuff, rock stuff, but just a terrific guitarist. I wasn't prepared for how good he was.
So knowing that he's a good guitarist, did that help you become a better guitarist as well?
Yeah, I like to think I take a little bit from everybody that all the different shows I see over the years and different styles and stuff like that. So yeah, I would say so. Just seeing the professionalism of how they went about doing their show, it certainly rubs off, and it's stuff that you like to take back with you and do the best you can with what you have. And I guess the last person we were talking about, Lou Gramm from Foreigner. Again, we had a chance to open for him, and this was again at the Navan Fair a few years later. And I remember that very succinctly. We were doing our sound check and getting ready to do it, and I was walking down the ramp afterwards, and he was there in the backstage area. There was a picnic table, and he was just sitting at the picnic table at the time. I didn't even know it was him. I figured he might have been part of his crew or something like that. So I had no idea it was him. I just walked by and said, "Hey, how's it going?" And he talked to me, and I sat down and shot the breeze with him for a while. He had all these questions about Canada and Ottawa and where's a good place to go for dinner because we've got a day off here tomorrow and all that sort of stuff. So I chatted with him for about 10 minutes. I had no idea that he was who he was. And later that night, we'd finished our show, and I was sitting around side stage waiting for them to come on. And sure enough, he walks on and grabs the mic, and I just about fell over. I was sitting there chatting with a guy who's probably worth $50 or $60 million, but you'd never know it. He, again, humble, down to earth guy, nice as nice could be.
That's funny.
So there you go. And let's see, who else have I met that's famous? Carol Pope. We opened for Carol Pope
Rough
once.
Trade.
Yeah, at Ottawa City Hall. We opened for her. It was the Pride Day celebration. and she came. We got a chance to open for her, and that was a great day. I mean, we opened. There's this whole big area in front of Ottawa City Hall, and it was after they had the big Pride Parade in Ottawa, just the same
Mm-hmm.
as they have the big Pride Parade in Toronto every year.
Mm-hmm.
So there was just thousands and thousands of people all packed in there. It was just a great show, really a lot of fun. And yeah, she got up and did her thing, and she was very nice. Had a chance to chat with her for a while. And I remember that day because she flew in from Los Angeles to play that gig. And there's three guys in her band, and they were all seasoned Toronto session players.
Mm-hmm.
And they came in, and they were in the dressing room when she came in, and she walked in and just shook their hands and said, "Hi, nice to meet you." She'd never met any of them before. They just had exchanged tapes and stuff like that, but you never would have known it. It was an absolutely flawless performance from all of them. And again, like you say, like taking information and learning from other people, that was really impressive. And they did it with no sound check really at all. I mean, the drummer just sort of tapped the microphones with his stick just to make sure they were all on, and the guitar player just did a just to make sure that it was going through the main speakers, and that was the extent of their sound check. It was like 15, 20 seconds. And same thing, the bass player just went on his strings just to make sure that it was coming through the mains and everything, and then they just went for it. And again, a great show.
Yeah, I mean, some bands don't really need that much time to practice, but others spend days to make sure everything's right, making sure the sound is right, making sure that the guitars are not out of tune. I mean, yeah, I remember Rough Trade and Carapulco. Remember those two songs, High School Confidential and Birds of a Feather, I think it's flocked.
Yep.
Birds of a Feather flocked. I remember that. And I remember them in the 80s and 90s, and it's good to see them still playing.
Mm-hmm.
And also, when you're talking about a sound check and just going like, and then seeing the microphone works, it's reminding me of how Mick Jagger, like he's 80 years old, still performing, still dancing, and the way they do their sound check. You know, he just goes on the stage, he goes like this, you know, making sure his bones aren't cracking, and say, okay, I can still do it. And then he sings Satisfaction, all these songs. So it's pretty interesting. That's amazing. What was the defining moment where you well, what is it that you said, um, I'm into music, I didn't know I was talking to Lou Gramm from Foreigner, he just fell backwards, and then you were playing opening for Honeymoon Suite. Like, who would you consider was the nicest musician of all the bands you opened for?
Hands down, the guys from Honeymoon Suite. Every
Yeah.
single guy in that band is an absolute class act. They're down to earth. They're no pretension whatsoever. Easy to get along with. Hands down, of all the famous musicians that I've had the chance to meet, those guys were the classiest act. Absolutely, hands down.
Have you ever met a musician that thumbed their nose at you, saying I'm better than you, whatever? Or
Um, yeah, there's been a few over the years. In the Ottawa music scene, there's it's a little bit different from Toronto. You know, in Toronto, basically any music style you can find, that's for sure. But in Ottawa, there's basically two sort of genres that exist. There's a blues and a roots community, and there's a whole set of people that are involved in that and play around. And then there's more sort of the sort of cover band, rock band, party band type of scenes. Those are the only two real scenes that you have in Ottawa. And in the sort of rock band, party band scene, there's all kinds of bands that are very friendly. They support each other. When I play shows with my current band, with Denise and Larry, our Vibes band, there's like 5 or 6 other bands that we're friends with, and they all come out to see us, and they're all friendly and stuff like that. The blues scene, on the other hand, is very cliquish and very you have to sort of join in and stuff. It's really tough to break into that. I managed to do it, but to this day, there's still certain people in that scene that they're just, I'm not blues enough for them, I guess you would say. I don't know. You don't have an encyclopedic knowledge of Wild Berry Willie or whoever's all these all these blues musicians throughout the years. I mean, if you don't know them and you're not steeped in all the tradition, then they'll just, like you say, thumb their nose at you. Even though you can get up and play with them in a jam and play reasonably flawlessly, they'll still give you a hard time. Not all of them, but that's certainly the case. And I'll send that warning out to anybody who wants to come up to Ottawa and play some gigs. If you're getting into the blues community, you've got to mind your P's and Q's with that group of folks. I wouldn't say everybody's like that in that scene, but there's a lot of them that are very, well, if you're not really a core blues guy, then you can't really be part of our scene. But there's been I've played a lot of shows in the blues scene over the years and met a lot of great people. But yeah, there's a lot of people that are very aloof and very, very picky.
How did you handle criticism or negative feedback about your music or what you're playing? And you're talking about, oh, you're not blues enough for us, or what was your ideas? Like, okay, well, how would you, if someone came up to you and said, I don't like the way you play, or, ooh, you got a Gibson? Oh no, Stratocasters are better, or something, stuff like
Yeah,
that.
I guess I can think of one gentleman that in the blues community that was like that with me for sure. And I was playing in a blues band, and this particular gentleman ended up doing sound that day, and he was the whole thing, like, I've known you for a year, and okay, you're playing here today, and yeah, you're part of this band, but you're not good enough for me, and I remember the way I got around it was I was just learning to be a background singer at the time, and this gentleman was a renowned lead vocalist in the blues community. So I just decided, okay, I know in my heart that I'm good enough to play with this guy and do these kind of shows. So I got to find a way to get on his side. So I just went up to him and I said, hey, I'm just learning how to be a singer and how to be a background singer. And I know you're really good and then you're really, really refined and really well respected in town. Is there any chance you could help me? Could you help me to be better? And that was it. His eyes lit up and said, sure, I can help you. And that's what we did. We spent the whole day. And after each set, he'd give me some advice and I'd take his advice, and I'd always be looking to him to make sure that my vocals were coming through and he was happy and he was giving me thumbs up. And over time, I did get to be very, very good friends with this guy, to the point where he asked me to join his band.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's something.
So So I ended up playing in his band for a couple of years. Actually, we did all kinds of festivals and stuff like that. And so yeah, I just try and find a way, just to try and find an angle to break the ice with someone and try to get on their good side. And there's some people where you've met them and they've just been so aloof, and so you just say, I can't be bothered with you. Life's too short to worry about people like you. So
Yeah.
you just look back on your accomplishments and everything, and you just say, okay, you still don't like me. I don't really care, because I've got a resume now and I've done so many things in the community and in the town that I'm happy enough that, if I'd gone on to become a professional musician, and I'd done that as my full-time career, I probably would have been good enough to get on a tour bus and do cross-Canada tours and all that sort of stuff. So I'm happy with who I am, and if I can't reach you, I can't reach you.
Yeah, I remember my trip to Ottawa. My brother and sister-in-law used to live in, first wife were living in Ottawa, and my friend Armando and I, we went there one year back in the 90s, and we skated along the whole entire Redoux Canal.
Oh, yes.
And so that was fun. And yeah, you think that the music scene that you mentioned, what about the community itself, besides one who likes to flip their nose at you and not blues enough for us? How are generally the people?
Generally the people are quite good, and the audiences are always quite good. We always have a lot of fun with them. So I know like there's sort of limited musical genres in Ottawa compared to places like Toronto and New York and Los Angeles, London, England. I mean, Ottawa, like I said, has pretty much two music streams. That said, the other thing the other thing that's good about Ottawa is that there's an absolute plethora of places to play. There's so many
Hmm.
live music venues in Ottawa and the surrounding areas up in the on the Quebec side and so that's the really good thing about Ottawa is that there's no shortage of places to play. There's so many opportunities of whether you're a seasoned veteran musician or if you're just starting out, there's all kinds of clubs that are available for you to play at.
How do you get these venues?
Um, well, basically, you know about them, and I spent about 6 years doing the bookings for bands and stuff like that. And yeah, you just have to go and knock on the doors and have your promo kit and go in there and talk to them. And every person's different. You have to try. Some people are really easy. They'll look at your kit and they'll say, "Yeah, sure, we'll book you." There's some people where you have to go back and back and back and say, "Oh, I can't today because I forgot my book." You'll have to come back. So you have to go back more times. But eventually, yeah, you get in there. It's all about perseverance and every club owner is different, a different personality. They have different priorities, and you have to sort of figure out what's the best tack to take with them. And these days, thankfully, I'm out of that. I did that for about 6 years, but now I just have to play bass, and my friend Denise there does all our bookings now. So I just wait to get a text message from her. Can you play on this date? Yes, no, and then off we go. So that's kind of nice.
I ask many artists regarding the acoustics and the size of the venue. Are acoustics important to you as well?
Oh, most definitely. We've got places like the Richmond Fair where we play in a big arena where you hit a note and it comes ricocheting back at you off these big
Yeah.
tin walls and stuff like that. So yeah, they're tough, but a lot of the clubs in Ottawa have very good acoustics for and I get a chance to play in the wintertime at a lot of the ski resorts. We get gigs at all the ski, and those are beautiful, big, high flowing ceilings and wooden panel rooms, and those rooms just sound like $1,000,000. I just love going to play at ski resorts.
I can imagine. Do you remember that scene in Back to the Future where Marty McFly had to play in front of Huey Lewis, who was one of the people's workers? I don't know that scene, but they played, and then he says, "I'm sorry, you're too loud." Is there a certain sound or decibel or whatever that would where they would say, "Sorry, you're too loud," or like when you were doing this and you were booking, uh, what were the difficulties of that? Did
These days I don't get that. I'm old enough, and the people that I play with are refined enough that we know how to set a volume for a room. But back in my younger days, high school stuff like that, yeah, we definitely got some requests to turn down. I remember Lauren Park. I was playing with some people. You might remember them, Nick Brewerton or Rod Black or people like that.
They're not the
I
same group that sang like every dance they played the song Jeremiah was a bullfrog. Is that the group?
No, that wasn't us. We were more of a heavy rock band, but
Oh,
I remember we'd play some Saturday night parties in people's garages and stuff like
hmm.
that. And oh boy, we got pretty out of hand. So we had the police arrive a few times to get us to turn down and stuff like that.
And
Those were fun. Those
you
were
wanted
fun
to get into
days.
music after that still, huh?
Yeah, but those were fun days. But yeah, these days it's a little bit more refined, and I'm amazed. Like basically, the age groups that I played at back when I was 17, 18 years old, it's more or less the same age groups now. You get some variation, some older, some younger, but mostly same people, just a little bit more wrinkles and a little bit more gray hair.
Do you remember those days when my brother and I would deliver papers and your father and sometimes you would answer the door and I'm like, oh, is that Steve? And I was just, what, 12, 13 or something? I remember those
Yeah,
days.
I guess so. Way back when, and yeah, I
We
remember
used
your
to,
brother. I remember your brother Jeff and Peter as well. Peter is
yeah,
probably of all you and your siblings. He's probably the guy I knew the best. We were on the cross country running team and at Hillcrest and Lauren Park and stuff like that.
yeah. So, yeah, it's, I haven't been in that area for a while. I was there last summer. They had like a special Clarkson thing downtown there where the
Mm.
Capra's restaurant is. And that's always good because my parents are buried at Spring Creek there. So
Mm-hmm.
I go there. Yeah. So, do you have like an opener song when you like? Do you have a playlist of songs that this is what we're gonna do, and you always play that song?
Yeah, pretty much. In my current band, we have three sort of structured sets. I mean, we'll vary, which set goes first to any particular night. But yeah, there's always a starting song. Uh, with Denise and Larry, we have two versions. We have a full out rock band version, and then we have an acoustic trio where my friend Larry will play acoustic guitar and I'll play bass, and we sing. And we always start with Led Zeppelin. That's the Way is
Mm.
the one song that we usually start with, and that's a good one for starting the evening off because you can't go wrong playing a Led Zeppelin tune for an older audience or for a younger audience. They're one of those artists that are just universal. Everyone's familiar with their music pretty much. So we tend to start with a song like that.
Have you ever heard of the band Classic Albums Live? So last summer at the
Yes,
CN,
actually, I know a gentleman named Rick Vatour, who's a renowned drummer from Ottawa, and he does a lot of the classic albums live. He just played at the National Arts Center a month and a half ago with it was the Creedence Clearwater Revival
oh
uh,
wow,
albums. I forget which album they were doing, but that was it. And then they came to. I was playing at another club called the Carlton Tavern, which is a very historic venue in Ottawa. It's in an old heritage building. It's one of those old taverns where there's two entrances at the front, and back in the day there used to be a men's entrance and a ladies and escorts entrance. So it's that old. But he came along with a bunch of the guys that he played with in the band at the NEC. They came to see us afterwards, which was really kind of cool.
yeah, yeah. I just always wondered, is there like everyone has a playlist and they know the song timing. Like, what would the amount of time the venues give you to play? Steve, vibes yet can only play for this amount of time. Do you have this? Let's see. Do we have one for an hour? Yeah, here's we play. Or is it like, well, these songs take about 2 hours to play. The only one is in and out within an hour. So, how do you manage? How do you deal with that?
Um, yeah, I guess we just it depends on the audience that we're playing for. If it's a sit down and listen type audience, normally I would do that with our acoustic trio. And yeah, we have like MTV unplugged versions of a lot of like classic rock hits and stuff like that. If it's only going to be a short thing, then we try and pick the tunes that are would be most well known for sure. We would do that.
I would have figured that you would have played some Honeymoon Suite, some Foreigner, some Peter Frampton.
Yeah, more or less. We do. What else do we do? We do a lot of female artists. We do Janis Joplin.
Oh
Uh,
yeah.
we do Melissa Etheridge. We do
Mhm.
Fleetwood Mac. We do some Fleetwood Mac tunes, which always go over great. I mean, Secondhand News. I don't know what it is about that song, but we play that and people go crazy. I mean, it is guaranteed to pack the dance floor. I don't know why that song is. I mean, it's not. I mean, obviously, it's a great song, but why do we always get such a reaction with it? I'll never know. And AC/DC. If you play AC/DC, that's guaranteed to get get the whole place jumping for sure. We do. What's the one we do? I can't remember off the top of my head what it is. Da, 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 da. Oh shoot, I can't remember. But the AC/DC songs we play always go over great.
Well, as I was mentioning about the Classic Albums Live band, when I was at the CNE last year, they were playing Dark Side of the Moon by Pink Floyd, the whole album right through. It's unbelievable. And my friend beside me, he's a diehard Pink Floyd fan. I look at him and goes, yep, they're almost like 99.9% perfect. So I think it's amazing.
Yeah, it's very impressive.
Yeah. Have you ever attempted Dreams by Fleetwood Mac?
Yes. Actually, I played another husband and wife duo that I played with, Sherry and Dan. I forget their last names, but yeah, we did Dreams. That was one of the songs we played at, and that was a great duo to play with, because actually we were playing a place called the Centertown Pub. We'd play every second Saturday. We play there, and it's a basically a gay bar. It's for the gay and lesbian and transvestite groups, and they all went there, and always a great time playing there. It was always a late night gig. You'd never even start until 11 o'clock, and they'd want you to play until 2:33 in the morning. But such a terrific audience. Lots of times when you play for heterosexual audiences, it's a lot of the times it's sort of a sports bar type environment, and you could be playing and not everybody's really going to be paying attention. There's going to be a lot of background chatter and stuff like that going on. But when to play for that group of people, they're so appreciative. Just a great crowd to play for. Really, really good. Really, really good.
What is your mode of bass guitar that you like? The Gibson, the Taylor, the Stratocaster, the Vitowski? Do you have a preference?
Oh, there's a lot of great ones. I never played Gibson basses, but I played Fenders mostly. These days I play basses by well, basically they're Sadowsky basses. I have a New York City one. It's built by a gentleman named Roger Sadowsky, and it's just a beautiful instrument. It's just a Rolls Royce of bass guitars. I mean, I bought it back in 1997, and I think I paid like $2,400 for it at the time, which was a ridiculous amount of money in 1997. And I said, God, I'm crazy spending this much, but I haven't regretted it for a moment. It sounds like $1,000,000. It plays like butter. I've been really, really happy, and I really, to this day, I still that's my main go-to. I bought a couple of other Sadowsky instruments since then, but that's my main go-to. It sounds like $1,000,000. It gives you that nice warm Motown sound, which is all I really need. I don't really need like these days, a lot of the rock basses will go for those big sort of gritty distorted sounds. I don't really need that myself, and this one instrument just does me for everything I could possibly need, really. So that's my main go-to, and it's my favorite instrument by far.
Well, I went. I don't know if you're familiar. There's along McQuaid's up here down the mall, the Square One Mall.
Yeah,
and I walked in there, and they had a whole wall of bass guitars. Some were upwards of $8,000. The cheapest one was $500. I'm like, I mean, what's the difference? Like, do you find that there's a difference in sound depending how much you spend on a bass guitar?
I can say in my case with the Sadowsky, there's no other instrument I've played that sounds as good as that, and the playability too, and the workmanship as well. I mean, it's such a light instrument. It only weighs about 8 pounds, and the way that they were able to do that is the actual body of the instrument is chambered inside. They take the time to take a lot of the interior wood right out of it, and then they'll just put a faceplate on the top of it, and the finish on it is just gorgeous. It's got this scalloped finish on it. So yeah, I guess it's like anything really. It's you get what you pay for. So yeah, I'm really, really happy with it. So
well, knowing that you and I are in the same generation and we're into music and podcasts, and you like to play. How do you feel that the music scene has changed since the 80s, the 90s, and even now with artificial intelligence? I tell you, there's a few AI software out there that can literally write a song for you in under 5 seconds.
Yep.
And it sounds good. So what is that going to do for talented musicians as yourself and others? Do you have thoughts on that?
Yeah, it's a tough call. I mean, in terms of technology and music, up to this point, I've embraced everything that's come along. Like I remember when the 70s transitioned into the 80s and you started to get into all the new wave and all the influx of all the synthesizers and the samplers, and then all the technology advances in recording, Pro Tools, all that sort of stuff. Up to
Hmm.
this point, it's been just I've embraced all of it. I think it's been just great. It's made music more interesting, and in a lot of cases it's improved it. And with artificial intelligence, my take on it is I say bring it on. I mean, AI is coming. It's hitting us all like a tsunami wave. It's coming. It's going to affect every aspect of our lives. So I say bring it on. I mean, if there's going to be computers that are going to be able to write songs themselves, if an AI generated song becomes a big hit on the radio, I haven't used AI in music myself yet, but I do use it every single day in my software development activities now. I find it saves me a lot of time. I don't have a problem with asking AI a question about how to do something because I've spent so many years researching it all myself and digging it out. I'm at the point now where yeah, I'm happy just to let the computer tell me what's the best function to use or what's the best library to use for Python or
Mm.
Java or whatever language I'm working in. So with AI, I say bring it on. If it helps to make music better and helps musicians become more prolific, and I'm interested to see if human musicians can coexist with AI music making technologies. It's still really early days, but I'm hopeful for the future. I hope it'll help make music better. I've got to believe that.
I don't know, Steve, because well, I know there's a new last Beatles tune called Now and Then. They used AI to extract John Lennon's voice from the piano, and then George Harrison and John Lennon and all four Beatles worked on it in the 70s, and then the three of them in the 80s and 90s. And then by the time George Harrison passed away in 2002, it was just Ringo Starr and Paul McCartney.
McCartney, yeah.
And they decided with about a year ago, whatever, they decided to just finish it. And now they call it the last Beatles tune. And they used AI for that. And AI is good some way, but if the vibes came up to you and say, hey, Steve, I think we should do, like, let's do a duet with Elvis Presley. We'll
Mm.
use AI. Would you go for that?
Um, yeah, I would come to think of it because if you think back in the history of music, like if you go back to the 30s and stuff like that, Duke Ellington and
Hmm.
all the big bands, I mean, that stuff's great. I mean, like those guys were so talented back in the 30s, but there's been so many evolutions in music since then. I mean, like because today we have well, you've got Taylor Swift and all that. I mean, she certainly doesn't sound like anybody from the 30s and stuff like that. I mean, she's developed her own sound, and
Hmm.
God only knows she's very successful with it.
Hmm.
Um, to me, having AI integrated into it to me it's just part of the evolution of music. I mean, music is going to continue to evolve into the future, and the music that we're going to be listening to 10 years from now probably won't sound very much like what we're listening to now. I mean, you look back even at the early 70s, all the bands that were around back then, there's very few artists emerging today that sound anything like the Eagles or Joe Walsh and the James Gang or any of those bands back then. I mean, music has evolved since then, and I think AI is going to be part of the evolution of music. And I, for one, am going to be interested to hear what it's going to sound like 15, 20 years from now, where music's going to go.
Well, I was watching a video. They use an AI music generator, a software called Suno, and a lot of it sounded, I'm thinking, wow, this is good, but at the same time, you don't want a guy to be sitting down on the couch eating potato chips, watching football game while his song's going viral and he's making millions of dollars on an AI generated song, which doesn't even use his voice.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
there's going to be homeless people out there. I don't want to say homeless, sorry, I mean people who out there used to be musicians. They can't make a living off it anymore because AI is taking their job. The talent is gone.
yeah. Um, Well, I look at some of the electronic artists that are going on today. Some of the DJs. I know we have a big festival here in the summertime that's all electronic music, DJs and stuff like that. And I know it's not. I know it's all programmed music, and it's the
Hmm.
computers that are playing it and stuff like that. And I'm of two minds of it. Yeah, I mean there's not human beings playing it, but I must admit that I do enjoy the style. I do enjoy listening to electronica music, and there's certainly, I mean, the songwriting is there, the musical ideas are there. I mean, sure, it's computers playing it and not human beings, but I still find the musical ideas and the type of songwriting and the things that allows. I still find it quite interesting to listen to and enjoy quite a bit of it. I mean, bands like Massive Attack or Thievery Corporation, or some of the DJs like Armin van Buuren or Tiesto. Um, a lot of it is either humans playing along with computerized tracks, or just purely computerized tracks. Um, I still find the songwriting and the musical ideas very interesting to listen to, but that's just me.
So you would like someone to take your voice and have you singing songs you've never sung before, and you'd be okay with that?
Um, like it's the people I still like, people like Tiesto and stuff like that. That's not really what they're doing. I mean, they're still, it's still original music, and um, yeah, but I guess yeah, there's the whole sampling thing, which is I don't know if I'd be comfortable with that. I mean, like I don't know if, like, you take John Bonham from Led Zeppelin. I mean, his drum beats have been sampled hundreds of thousands of times by now. Would he be happy with that? Unfortunately, he's not here anymore, so you can't ask him. But I'm sure his estate's bank account is quite happy with it.
Yeah, there's a lot of musicians out there. In fact, indie artists kind of struggling, and some of them like AI because they you can use it for good, you can use it for bad, but it's not the same anymore. But hey, I love Imagine Dragons. I like Panic at the Disco. I still like Billy Joel, Elton John.
Hmm, hmm.
I love Billy Joel's new song "Turn Out the Lights." It's really nice, inspiring.
Yeah,
How
there's lots of new bands I really like. There's a band out of London, England called Wolf Alice, which I really enjoy. I think they're just terrific. They're more of a standard sort of rock band type sound, but thoroughly enjoy them.
So how do you stay motivated? Sorry, motivated. How do you stay motivated and inspired?
For me, well, just the bands I play, like we pick songs to play that we really enjoy, and basically being able to put something together and come up with a nice arrangement. That's all. I still find that very intrinsically satisfying, and even more so if you take the time to come up with a nice song and a nice arrangement, and then you play it for a group of people and they really enjoy it as well. That's very satisfying. Being able to
Wow.
do something for people for a few hours in an evening and let them forget about their troubles for a while, for a few hours, and just have some fun. That's, to me, that's just great.
Yeah, think about their trouble. So how do you deal with your mental health, Steve? What are some of the things that you do?
Uh, Try not to worry too much. Again, having a varied life, having a lot of friends. I enjoy my work. I enjoy playing music. Sports. I'm a very avid tennis player, so I spend a
Hmm.
lot of times. For me, the a big key to happiness is just keeping really busy, just having a lot of things going on in your life. Um, I feel sorry for people that don't do that and just end up having a lot of time on their hands just to twiddle their thumbs all day long. I can't imagine that being a very good way to live your life, because you just have time to think about all the things that you'd like to do better. Oh, I wish I could do this, blah 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 blah. But no, I find for me the key to happiness for me personally is just keeping really busy and just trying to get the most out of life I possibly can. Learning new things, experiencing new things, meeting new people. That to me is the essence of what makes for a happy life, and it's been working for me so far. I can't complain at all.
Do you read?
Do I read?
Yeah.
You mean just like reading books and stuff like
Like
that?
reading books, like any interesting books that you want to share that you've read?
Yeah, I like to read a lot of biographies. Actually, I read a lot of music biographies. Geddy Lee, I just finished reading his book, which was terrific. I really enjoyed that. I really enjoyed that. And Johnny Marr from the Smiths, I read his
Mm.
autobiography too, which is terrific. That guy has led an incredible life, just an incredible life by anyone's standard.
Wow. So can you, so was there ever a time that you just wanted to give up, just give music up, give family up, just, I want my own space?
No, I can't say I've never had that experience before. I've always been moving on to the next thing and stuff like that. I think the one thing musically that I that would be is if I had to play with people who weren't as if I had to play in a band with people who weren't as motivated as me, or maybe not as accomplished a musician as I am. I'd probably find that a bit trying, but you know, you'd have to work with it and try and make them more interested and try and you know, bring them up and make them more motivated and more interested in what they were doing. If I couldn't do that, then I probably wouldn't stay with that type of project.
What are some advice you can share for upcoming musicians, like how to build successful music career, or how to play a bass? Or what would, if someone said, Steve, I like the way you play, I love the vibes, or I love what you do. How do I go about doing what you do?
Um, First thing, absolutely, the first thing is be a nice person. I don't think anybody who's a professional musician who's maybe going to be going on tour around the world or something, first and foremost, they want to get on their tour bus every day with people they can get along with. That's probably the most important thing for sure, over and above any musical skill or stuff like that. Just being somebody who's easy to get along with. That would be the absolute primary number one thing. Um, Getting on, being able to network with people. That's a big thing for sure. Is always keeping your mind open to meeting new people, meeting new musicians, new experiences. Anything you can do to improve yourself and widen your horizons as a musical person, a musical artist is something I would embrace for sure. So those would be the two big things. Absolutely, being a nice person, getting you know, not being a jerk, just being able to get along with people and wanting to be the best that you can possibly be, and surround yourself with like-minded people, people who are easy to get along with, people who are continually trying to push themselves and be better at what they're at. That to me is the key to success and the key to happiness in being a musician.
Do you have a bucket list at all, Steve, of things that you're trying to accomplish, and then you put like a check mark on them? Or is your bucket list just in your mind, or you just say, no bucket list, I'm just going to live life to the fullest?
Yeah, I guess these days I've pretty much done everything I wanted to do. I've definitely had bucket lists over the years. You know, clubs I've wanted to play at, shows, musical achievements I wanted to make. Um, a big one here in Ottawa, we have the Blues Fest here every
Mm.
summer. Um, it's really weird. It's still called Blues Fest, but if you look at all the artists and stuff like that that play at it, it's they should just call it Summer Fest or Music Fest, because
Mm.
they have everybody, and getting the chance to play that, I've played it a few times now, and that was a big bucket list check off. Um, so yeah, I guess just more experiences, being able to play with different people, do different things. So yeah, I definitely have a bucket list. The only thing that I think the only thing really left on my bucket list is, you know, being able to go and do a big tour and stuff like that, and you know, being in a touring band. Whether I'll be able to do that, maybe once I retire from my software business, I don't have that anymore. Maybe I will get that opportunity. I don't know. If it comes along, I'd give it a shot. That's for sure.
So how about your current family life? Do they agree with, do they follow you and agree and accomplish things with you as well?
Yeah, my dad and my sister and stuff like that are very supportive of what I do, and are happy with whatever successes I have. And for my family, I don't have any children. I have my wife Donna, but and again, she's very supportive and very happy with me. I think she'd like it if I toned it down a bit and not be quite as busy as we get a bit older. But she's been very supportive all along and through it. So I can't complain at all in that regard.
No, I mean, it's good to be alive. I mean, just
Oh
waking up
yeah.
in the morning, it's a blessing from God right
Oh, that's
there.
for sure. Yeah, and the older you get, the more of a blessing it is. That's for sure. I know
Yeah.
there's people my age. There's some people that just that have passed on and haven't made it to the age that I've made it to, and
Wow.
I'm very grateful to still be around for one thing, and to have health and happiness. Absolutely a blessing.
Yeah, and it's nice to know that your dad is still around and 98 and still doing things and independent. That's amazing. Wow. Say hi to him for me.
I
I think
certainly
he might
shall.
remember me. He might remember me. I'm not sure.
Oh, I think so. I'll bring it up with him the next time I see him. But
Yeah. So what's next for you? Where do you find yourself? I mean, I know we should live one day at a time, but where do you find yourself in your music in the next couple of years?
in the next couple of years, like I said, I don't really pursue, like I'm not. It's not like I have to have my own original music or have
Mm.
any sort of career. Like I'm just happy to keep playing as long as I can. I'm blessed to know lots and lots of people in the Ottawa music community, and I've never had to look at my. That's one of the things that's great about being a bass player is that there's never enough bass players and there's never enough keyboard players. So my phone is constantly ringing with people that are wanting to pick me up for something, for like a recording session, or for playing a fill-in show or stuff like that. So I'm just going to remain open to whatever comes along for as long as I can physically do it. I'm just going to take whatever comes along.
Now, do you consider that your Sadowsky bass guitar, you find that a little bit heavy for you? Or do you like, it might be heavy, but I still gonna play it?
Yeah, with age, I'm getting a little. I know I'm starting to get a bit of arthritis in my fingers, but
Oh,
I'm still at the stage that once I get warmed up and playing, it doesn't really affect me, and I can do everything I've always been able to do. So I would assume there'll come a day when when I won't be able to do what I want to do, and then maybe that's the day that I might start thinking about hanging it up, or maybe doing something else musically. But we'll just have to see how it goes.
yeah, there's a YouTube channel, Charles Berthold, who's a really, really, really good bass player, but he's a slapper. A slapper where they just hit
Mhm.
your. Is that something you've done as
Oh
well?
yes, yes, yes. I don't do a lot of it. I find people that do a lot of it. I find it gets to be very
Mm.
repetitive. And I remember going to see the Red Hot Chili Peppers
Oh yeah.
years ago, and Flea. He's a great bass player, but
Mhm.
I find that he just does the slap thing. It's my personal opinion. I mean, I think he's a great player, but I find over the course of the evening when I saw them, he just does the slap thing a bit too much. Um, for me, I do a bit of slap stuff, but I only use it maybe 10% of the time. Myself, I just think is just something that can be overdone quite easily.
What goes through your mind emotionally when you're up there playing in front of people? What goes through your mind? It says, I hope I'm playing well. I hope they like my music. I hope. How does that feel for you?
Yeah, that's part of it. It's the big part of it is just trying to deliver and do for each song we play. Try to give the best performance that you possibly can. And it's great those nights when it's all just flowing and you don't really have to think about it, and everybody else is in sync. You get that feeling when you play the best shows. You get that feeling that you get a sort of out of body experience. That like the music seems to be playing itself. I don't know if anybody's ever uh, has the same sort of feeling about it. But those to me are the best nights where it just flows and it's just completely flawless, and and you're in sync, and the dance floor is always full and people are really happy and supportive, and you get applause and encores at the end of the night. Combine that with that feeling of it just being an out of body experience, and the music seems to be playing itself. Those are what makes for the best nights. That's for sure.
Well, let me ask you something. Maybe I might ask you this question because I hardly ever ask it. Those bass players in these bands like Black Sabbath and AC/DC, and what's the whole gimmick with smashing a guitar on stage when they spend all this money on it?
I don't know. I can't understand people that do that. I mean, I guess Pete Townsend from the Who is the one who's most famous for that, and he seems like a pretty irascible kind of guy. He doesn't strike me as someone who's really 100% happy with who he is and what is. So yeah, I guess it's born out of a personal frustration that he must have had at the time about certain things going on that made him want to smash an instrument. But it's not something that I would ever consider or would ever do. I couldn't afford to do it, but. No, I can't really see ever having a level of frustration in life where I would feel the need to do something like that, and I can't really for the life of me understand the people that do. To me, it's just such a waste to smash an instrument. To me, it's just ridiculous.
I know. I think it's really ridiculous. So now that I know that you don't smash your guitar on stage, do you take care of your guitar on your own, like stringing it yourself and cleaning it yourself, or do you take it in professionally done?
For setups and stuff like that, for intonation and to get, I definitely take it into we have you mentioned Long and McQuaid's, and yeah, we have a few different Long McQuaid's, and we have Steve's Music here in Ottawa as well. Which I think is founded more in Montreal than Toronto. But I don't know if there's a Steve's Music in Toronto. I can't remember. But when I need to get it, I don't mind. Maybe once every 6 months or so, I'll take it in for a professional cleaning and a professional setup. But yeah, I like to take care of it. I wipe after every show. I wipe my strings down and try and make them last, because I like to keep. Once I get a set of strings on my bass that I'm really happy with, I'd like to try and keep them as long as they can. I'm not one of these guys that has to have a new set of strings and have that really sharp, twangy sound all the time. I'm a real fan of the James Jamerson Motown sound, a really nice, warm sound, and I find I get that much easier with an older set of strings. So I like to try and keep them as long as I can. So I do that, and yeah, I polish up my instrument and try and keep it as happy as can be. So that's where we go with that.
Was Smoke on the Water the very first song that you tried to play when you first got your first bass?
I don't know how you know that, but that is 100% actually true. That is the very first song I ever learned. I bought my first bass and amplifier from Southdown Music in Southdown Plaza.
Wow, that's long gone.
It's long gone now, but yeah, I remember picking it up on a Saturday morning in October 1975, I think it was. Yeah, and I was literally in a band that afternoon. That's how much bass players were in demand, and I didn't even know how to play it. I had no idea, and Alex, the guitar player that day, just said, "Here's where you put your fingers, and this is what you do." And it was Smoke on the Water was the first song I ever learned.
Well, if you walk into any music store like Long McQuaid's, whatever, they have actually there's some that they ban now. And that's one of them. Smoke on the Water. You can't play Smoke on the Water.
Smoke on the Water or Stairway to Heaven. Stairway to Heaven. Yeah. There's only a few. Yeah. There's only a few songs now lately that are just fingernails on a chalkboard for me now. I mean, Leonard Skinner, Sweet Home Alabama. I mean, hey, great band and great song when it first came out, but I've played it so many times now. If I had $1 for every time I played that song, I could probably buy a car.
Yeah, you were mentioning Leonard Skinner. I want to remind you that on my channel, I interviewed Tim McGarry and Robert Paul Gay, who actually played with Stephen Vai. And there's some really good Leonard Skinner stories on there because they knew, I think who was the very last one that passed away recently? He was a member of Leonard Skinner.
Oh, it was not Mr. Collins. It was the other guy. I forget his name, but yeah, he was the last one. I think they've all passed away now, which
Yeah.
is a shame.
And they worked with Duran, and it was one of the most incredible artists I've ever had. And it's amazing who I meet and have the stories and who they know, and also Ted Perlman, who has a special friendship with Bob Dylan, friendship with Ringo Starr, played with Ringo Starr. So he's been all over the place. And I so privileged to be able to interview a lot of musicians. And my dream is to have the musician Sting on my podcast.
Oh, wow. That would be cool. That would be
Yes.
very.
Yeah. That's what I would like to have eventually. That would be my Mount Everest artist.
Oh, good for you. Well, fingers crossed. Hopefully it'll happen for you.
So yeah, I'm so excited. I started this 3 years ago, and already I met a lot of people, interviewed a lot of musicians and people. It's just incredible what I did, Steve. I love it.
Yeah, no, it's great. You have a lot of fun, and that's what it's all about: is networking, getting to know people, and you just never know who they're going to refer you to, or what opportunity is going to come from it when you meet a new person. You just never know what they're going to bring to your life.
I'm so happy I was able to get the opportunity to interview you. This is amazing. Got a chance to catch up and hear about what's going on with you, and so I love that.
Yeah, likewise. It's been great to catch up with you as well. It's been a while.
Yeah. Well, everyone, we're going to end the stream. Really appreciate you watching. It was nice to catch up with one of the neighbors, and that. Okay, everyone.
Okie doke. Take care, folks. All the best to everyone.
Thanks, man.